How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of the Angry Weekend Show. Okay, let's get started. So, folks, I have an interesting topic to talk about today. A lot of things are going on. A lot of things have been going on for the last several weeks, if not months. And I think today is a good time to talk about this. So, as we speak here today, the Senate is grilling big tech giants such as Google CEOs, Twitter CEO, Facebook CEO, regarding their blatant censorship of the news lately. In particular, the censorship of the Hunter Biden story and his emails and the whole laptop and all that fun stuff that's been censored lately. And more specifically, the blatant censorship of the New York Post story regarding the Hunter Biden. That's mainly that's what triggered this whole thing in the first place because Twitter is and Google and Facebook, they're all engaging in censorship of information. And when you start censoring the news, and when you censor the president's press secretary, we got a problem, folks. We got a problem. So, with that said, I want to go over and give you my opinion as well as my interpretation of the First Amendment of the Constitution. Well, First Amendment of the Bill of Rights from the Constitution. The Bill of Rights is very important for our democracy and our way of life. Very, very important. They wouldn't ratify the Constitution without the Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights is a set of rules that basically prevents the government from doing certain things to you, okay, or stopping you from exercising certain God-given rights. That's what the founders intended, and it's something that we need to guard as much as we can, because if we lose these rights, we're screwed. You have Democrats screaming about if Trump gets elected, we're going to lose our democracy, which is a total nonsense because he's the only one that's being censored. Conservative people are being censored. People are being deplatformed, okay? And, specifically people like Alex Jones. Alex Jones literally got deplatformed. He's basically just doing his own, his website. He's not on Facebook. Well, I don't know I don't think he's on Facebook. He's definitely not on Twitter, and he's definitely not on YouTube anymore. Okay. Big tech giants shouldn't have the power to suppress our First Amendment rights. Okay. So with that said, let's get into this real quick. So let's take a quick look see here and let's read. Okay. What is the First Amendment? Okay, so the First Amendment, as you can see here, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So let's, what exactly does that mean? So, the First Amendment guarantees freedoms concerning religion, expression, assembly, and the right to petition. All right? It forbids Congress from both promoting one religion over the other and also restricting an individual's religious practices. It guarantees freedom of expression by prohibiting Congress from restricting the press or the rights of individuals to speak freely. It also guarantees the right of citizens to assemble peaceably and to petition the government. So, what exactly does that mean? So, it's the First Amendment for a reason. Very, very important that these rights stay intact in order for us to have a thriving and a legit democracy. Okay, if we lose these rights, we're gonna be in huge trouble, because then the government can basically do whatever it wants. So, right now, freedom of religion is not under attack as much. It has been in the past, but in this particular election cycle, it's not something that's being suppressed or censored. You can go about your life. You can worship as you want. However, some I guess I'll take it back. Some religious rights are being trampled on, especially by New York, where you're not allowed to go to church. And right now, I think if the Jews in New York were literally like arrested for having a peaceful protest, which, as you can see, is guaranteed under the under the First Amendment of the Constitution. Okay, excuse me. So the government of New York does not have the right to arrest the Jews for doing what is constitutional, which is peaceably assembling for redress of grievances. Okay, the grievance right now is that Christians and not just Christians, but just overall any religious institutions, they want the ability to be able to go to church and to worship as they feel free. But because of all these lockdowns that's going on in a lot of these major cities, their religious freedoms are being suppressed. They're not allowed to practice their religion as they feel fit. They want to be able to go into church, a synagogue, or a mosque, and they want to be able to worship freely. They want to be around their fellow, the congregation. And this is something that in a lot of cities, they're being stifled. They're not being allowed to do this. So I'll take that back. There is right now currently some suppression of religious freedoms, and I think that needs to stop. Okay, if people want to go to church, they can easily wear masks. They can easily social distance, and they can take steps to try to make it as safe as humanly possible, and they should be allowed to do so. So right now, that's under attack a little bit, but more importantly, what's being under attack is the right of an individual to speak freely. People like Alex Jones have been censored, and I use him as an example because he's probably the main guy that's being censored out there because people don't agree with what he has to say. Is he always right? No. Is he always wrong? No. Does he say some cuckoo stuff? Yeah, sometimes. Does he talk about conspiracy theories? Of course, yes, he does. Okay. However, it is not within the power of the government to silence him or anybody else. You do not have to agree with anything that I say or anybody else says. That's why we have the freedom of speech. We can essentially say whatever the fuck we want. However, I do agree that there should be some limits to it, but not many. So for example, speech that can cause physical harm to others should not be allowed. For example, you shouldn't be allowed to scream fire in a crowded building because that's going to create people panicking. Okay, that's going to create panic, and people are going to inevitably get hurt and even die. Same thing, you can't get on stage and talk to a crowd of people and then ask them to go riot or ask them to go attack someone that you might not agree with. So those are the limitations that you have on freedom of speech. Other than that, I should be able to say whatever the fuck I want without fear of repercussion and without fear of being silenced by big tech or any other company or any government, period. You don't have to agree with what I say. If what I say is offensive to you, oh fucking well, get over it. Okay? Not everyone is going to agree with your point of view or my point of view or anyone's point of view. That's why we can have a civil debate and we can exchange ideas. And if your idea makes more sense than my idea, then we can come together and make something happen and fix certain things and whatnot. But you should not be able to censor someone's thoughts or someone's speech just because it doesn't align with your political view or doesn't align with your beliefs. And this is what we're seeing right now with big tech. So Google, Twitter, Facebook, and companies alike, they're privately owned companies. So in a way, they can do whatever they want because it's their company, it's their platform. So my problem with this is, if you're going to censor people, then you have to censor it across the board. You can't just censor conservative thinking people and allow liberal thinking people to say whatever they want. And because big tech has so much power and so much influence over what we see and what we read and the information that's being allowed, they have the ability to control the narrative and also even to sway elections, because damning stories or information for their particular candidate can be suppressed so that nobody finds out about it, but yet damning information will be allowed for the people that they do not agree with. So for example, it was okay for Twitter, for Facebook, and everybody else to allow the story of Trump's taxes. And those taxes were obtained illegally. It is a federal crime to publish someone's taxes. They did not censor it. However, they decided to censor the Hunter Biden story. And their excuse for it, at least Jack Dorsey's excuse for it, was because they couldn't confirm exactly where the information came from. So they just assumed that it was hacked material. And apparently they've had this policy that they try to limit the exposure of hacked material. And that's fine and dandy, and I understand what they're going with that. However, in the New York Post article itself, it cites how they got the information, how they got the laptop information. I'm sorry, the emails and the pictures and all the crazy stuff that's going on right now. They got that because Hunter Biden forgot to pick up the laptop that he dropped off at the computer shop. Therefore, the information there was not hacked. And after 90 days of the owner of the company having that laptop, according to the contract, it is now the property of the computer shop owner. And he can do whatever the fuck he wants with it because he is now the owner of such laptop and information that's in it. Okay? He provided that information to the FBI over 7 months ago. Obviously, nothing has happened since. And he also gave a copy to Rudy Giuliani's lawyer. Okay? And then someone in the email chain just came out before the last debate and had a press conference. And just yesterday, okay, he was at he had an exclusive interview with Tucker Carlson. So it is safe to say that the information inside of that laptop is in fact real, and the laptop is in fact Hunter Biden's laptop. So what's the problem? The problem is that Twitter decided that it was within their power to censor the New York Post for posting this story or for writing this story. Now, the New York Post is the oldest newspaper in the United States. It was founded by Hamilton, for fuck's sakes. And Twitter decided that they're going to censor them. Not only censor them, but censor the links to it. They censored people from sharing it, both in messaging, and also Facebook tried to do the same thing. And this is not good for our democracy. We need to be able to read both sides of the story, and then we decide what we want to believe or not believe. And we can further dig into the story, and we can do our research, and then we can get the full picture, and then we can decide what's what. It is not the media's job, it is not tech giants to tell us what to think. It is not the media's job to fabricate the news. It is the media's job to report on the news. And what we are seeing now is a straight up attack on our First Amendment right of freedom of speech. And we can't have this. Same thing with the freedom of peaceably assembling. That is also under attack, but not under attack for BLM, Antifa. They are allowed to not peaceably assemble because what you are seeing are riots, not a peaceful protest. Now, the media will sit there and tell you that what's happening, it's a peaceful protest, okay? Black folks are angry that police officers are shooting unarmed black folks, or there's a systemic racism in the police force and all this other stuff. So these folks are not protesting, they're rioting. If they wanted to peaceably protest, that's perfectly fine and dandy. No one is stopping them from doing that. However, they're burning down cities, they're looting, and all this is perfectly fine and doesn't get censored. But God forbid you have conservative people peaceably assembling to protest the COVID lockdowns, and now they get demonized by the mainstream media. So it's okay for the BLM and Antifa people to riot, no mask on, no nothing. That's perfectly fine. But then if Trump has a rally, that's not fine, and it's considered a super spreader event. Now, Biden is calling it a super spreader event because he can get anybody to his rallies anyways. But I digress. So the point I'm making here, folks, there's a viral video going on about this lady on the phone screaming, Republicans, you are the people that the history books warned us about. We're gonna lose our democracy. Wake up. You guys seen that video. It is not the Republicans or the conservatives that are attempting to take away your rights, especially your freedom of speech. It is the Democrats and the liberal side of things that want to suppress your freedom of speech and the information that you have access to. This isn't a conspiracy theory. I'm not making this shit up. These are easily verifiable facts. Right now, the mainstream media, mainly the left-leaning media, as well as all of the left-leaning tech companies, are censoring vital information on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. This information, if allowed to be spread amongst everybody, if everybody has the ability to see this information, they most likely will vote for Trump. Because what is in these emails and what is in this hard drive, it is very damning and easily provable. Joe Biden has been doing some stuff that he should not be doing, and Hunter Biden has definitely been doing some stuff that he should not be doing. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I know this. If Joe Biden becomes president of the United States, and I highly doubt that that's going to happen, but if it does, in the event that it does, I can guarantee you, me being able to sit here and speak to you, that's not going to happen. I'm going to be censored. I've already been censored from Twitter. Okay? I got kicked out of Twitter. I've been banned from Twitter, actually, and I haven't bothered to create another account because fuck them. I've been banned from Facebook about 3 times. So I have been a victim of big tech censorship. So I know how it feels. And this is something that we need to put an end to it. If Biden becomes president, those censorships is only going to get worse. Because right now they are protecting Joe Biden. The news media is not covering Joe Biden. They are protecting Joe Biden. If you try to ask him questions hard questions about Hunter Biden's laptop. His handlers, and they just rush him off like, you don't want to answer that question. He also gets extremely angry about it and tells us that it's a lie, that it's a Russian disinformation. Can you believe this shit? We have a laptop, we have the information, we know how they got it, and the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, they sit there with a straight face and tell us that this is a Russian disinformation aimed at hurting Joe Biden's um, potential presidency. That can't be further from the truth. The New York Post story is legit, it's real, and it should not be censored. And the American people should be entitled to listen and to read whatever the fuck they want, and they should have the right, and do have the right, to decide for their own self what is real and what is not, based on the information that they have obtained. So with that said, this election is very important. You have one side that's pro-censorship. For example, Alex Jones just went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it literally broke the internet. I mean, people on Twitter are losing their mind because they want to silence and censor Alex Jones. In a free society, this should not be happening. Whether you agree with Alex Jones or not, he has the right as a United States citizen to speak his mind freely without being afraid of the government attacking him or being demonized and that kind of stuff. You don't have to agree with what he says. You don't have to agree with what anyone says, like I said. But we sure as fuck have the right to say whatever the fuck we want, and you don't have to like it. I can say offensive things, okay? And so can you. This is the beauty of this wonderful country that we live in. In other countries, you do not have the ability to speak your mind. I mean, China, for example, they censor everything you say. You can't talk about certain things. We do not want that in this country. We are free people, and we should be allowed to stay free, and we should be able to say whatever the fuck we want. With that said, I hope you guys do your research. I hope you guys choose wisely when you go vote, and I hope you make the right decision and give Trump another 4 years. With that said, thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe. Click on that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I post new videos. And I appreciate you guys for listening. With that said, peace the fuck out. I'm out.